Well, good morning. We're continuing on with the commentary on the book of Genesis, and we've reached chapter 23. And chapter 23 is quite important because it recounts the death of Sarah, Abraham's wife. And Sarah was 127 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died at Kirjath-Arba, also called Kiriath-Arba. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and wept for her. Sarah died in Kiriath-Arba, which is in Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to eulogize Sarah and to bewail her. Where did Abraham come from, and why wasn't he with Sarah in her final moments before she died? Earlier in the previous chapter we read about the offering of Isaac on the altar as a burnt offering. Then we read in the following, in chapter 22, verse 19, Abraham then returned to his attendants when they came down the mountain, and they rose and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham settled in Beersheba. If you go back into chapter 21, you'll see that Abraham and Abimelech, who was the king of that area, they came to an agreement, and Abraham gave Abimelech 7 ewes as recognition that he'd dug a well in the land near Beersheba, and that by doing that, Abimelech agreed that that land around that well belonged to him. And it says at the end of that chapter that Abraham planted a grove of trees around that well, probably to signify the border that this land belongs now to Abraham. So Abraham is now a landowner in the land of the Philistines. And later in this chapter we'll see that he also becomes a landowner in the land of Canaan. So now Abraham is a landowner, or he will be as we finish this chapter, a landowner in 2 totally different provinces. God is starting to build up a platform of ownership now, which clearly identifies the land that God has given already in an eternal deed to the Jews through the line of Isaac. Now, the well-known commentator Rabbi Shlomo Itzhaki, known as Rashi, explains that this is where Abraham was coming from when he came to eulogize Sarah. Abraham had settled temporarily in Beersheba following the binding of Isaac when he offered him up on the Mount Moriah on the altar, and then upon receiving word of Sarah's death, he returned to Hebron. There are other scholars who believe that when Sarah heard that God had commanded Abraham to take up Isaac and offer him as a sacrifice on the altar, that the shock of that revelation killed her. But there's no actual written evidence of that in Scripture, only in the commentaries of some of the early Jewish commentators, like 2,500 years ago. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yehuda, author of the Penius Raza commentary, explains that following the ordeal of binding Isaac, Abraham decided to settle in Beersheba permanently. He sent a message to Sarah for them the whole tribe to come and join them, and only then learnt that she had died while he was away. So he returned to bury her. So now we continue on with the scriptures. And Abraham stood up before his dead and spoke unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me possession of a burying place with you, that I might bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, you are a mighty prince amongst us. And in fact, the Hebrew word says you are a mighty prince of God amongst us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury your dead. None of us shall withhold from you his sepulchre, but you may bury your dead there. The people of this area, the children of Heth, recognized that God was upon Abraham, calling him a prince of God. And all of them offered up their sepulchre for him to bury his wife Sarah. Now the challenge today, by your actions, do people recognize that God is upon your life? Like it was upon Abraham. Remember, Jesus said, "Greater things shall you do after I go to my Father." So are you doing greater things than Abraham? And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the people of Heth, to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, "If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat me to Ephron, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he has, which is in the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth. For he shall give it to me for a possession of a burying place among you." Even in his grief, Abraham still acted correctly by offering to purchase the cave for its full price, remembering the scripture, "Owe no man anything." And Ephron dwelt amongst the children of Heth, and Ephron was a Hittite. And he answered Abraham, saying, in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of the city, saying, "No, my lord, hear me. The field I give it to you, and the cave that is therein also, I give it to you. In the presence of the sons of my people, give it thee. Bury thy dead." Ephron pledges before all of the people that he will give the field and the cave to Abraham, so that he can bury his wife. And Abraham bowed himself before the people of the land. And he spoke to Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, "But if you will give it, I pray you hear me. I will give you money for the field, take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. I'm not going to take it for free, but I am prepared to pay for it." And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, and this is a conclusion, "My lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Bury therefore your dead." Ephron replied to Abraham, "The land is worth 400 shekels of silver, but we are both wealthy people. 400 shekels of silver is nothing to us. Therefore have it for free." And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. So Abraham paid for the field at the requested price of 400 shekels of silver in the presence of the sons of Heth, so that everybody knew and could testify that this land now belongs to Abraham, and that the people of that region have given him permission to use it as a burial site for his wife. And the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave that was therein, and all of the trees that were in the field, that were in all of the borders round about, were made sure. And Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in and out of the city. As was the tradition, all of the elders gathered at the city gates to transact business, and it was there that the above transaction was discussed, and the price established and paid, in the presence of the city elders of the children of Heth. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same in Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of the burying place by the sons of Heth. This is a clear proof that this land belongs to the Jews, as Sarah, the mother of Isaac, who was the mother of the Jews, is buried in this field, legally purchased by Abraham from Ephron the Hittite, well over 3,000 years ago. So now Abraham is a landowner in two provinces, in the land of Canaan at Mamre, and in the land of the Philistines at Beersheba.